The price of a horse. It's just a horse, he'd tell her, and you'd know he's past his prime. Heck, canner price is 50 cents. He's got to go this time. She'd look at him with tear-filled eyes and vigorously shake her head. No, she'd say, I'll find another way, to pay the bills instead. He'd scoff at her, slam the door, and head out to the bar. She'd sit and suffer silently, wondering how she'd got in this far. Her friends and family had said he'd only bring her down, but she'd fiercely held on to him, although they'd pitied her in town. She's smart and a pretty girl, they'd shake their heads and say. No one knew what she saw in him, even to this day. She was a dedicated hard worker, honest as the day is long. He was commonly known as a rounder, never held a job too long. The little they had was because of her, all paid for by her, on time. The little he made, when he bothered to work, he drank up, down to the last dime. And every time things started looking rough, he threatened to sell her horse, 'cause according to him it cost too much, to support her habit, of course. But she'd had that horse for 24 years, and you don't just sell a friend. She'd made a silent promise that she'd keep him to the end. There were days he didn't look the best, so she'd give him extra grain, and stand by him, and whisper, and softly stroke his mane. They'd been through so much together, the miles and the years. He was the only one she talked to. He'd heard all her dreams and fears. There was no way she'd ever sell him. She'd starve herself that he'd have hay, 'cause that's just what you do when you love something that way. Horse sale is coming Saturday. 50 cents is canner price. We could pay off a bill or two, maybe get you something nice. She'd look at him with love-gone eyes, now filled with only hate. Shake her head and wonder how she'd picked him for a mate. That morning came when she awoke, her heart hammering with dread. What sound had just awakened her as she lifted up her head? She heard the slam of the corral gate and whinny of Old Blue, and in an instant, without a doubt, she knew what she must do. So quickly grabbing boots and jeans, she headed out for the pen, grabbed the 30-30 as she went by, and jacked a bullet in. He half smiled as he saw her and tried to make amends, still drunk from a night at the bar in town with friends. Ah, hon, now don't tell me that you'd rather put him down than get 54 cents canner price at the sale today in town. She hit him right between the eyes, and he dropped like an old grain sack. She never even broke her stride, and she didn't bother looking back. She jerked the halter off of Blue and calmed him with some grain, went inside and called the sheriff, and said she really couldn't explain what had happened here this morning, and she didn't know what to do, 'cause her husband had just shot himself when he went to kill Old Blue. I begged him not to do it 'cause he was drunk and could get hurt, but he said it needed doing, and now he's out there in the dirt. I guess he must have stumbled and pulled the trigger as he went down. I think he's dead, but would you please send an ambulance from town? There wasn't much to say. Tragic accidents happen, you know. Her family and friends brought pies and cakes to help her ease her sorrow. Old Blue greets her every morning. They both know his day is coming, but they'll leave it up to fate. She'll never more go hungry, and there's always grain and hay, 'cause double indemnity life insurance was the bill she always made sure to pay. Leslie Keltner. Leslie Keltner not only writes and performs cowboy poetry, she composes her own songs and accompanies herself on the guitar and washtub bass, which consists of a galvanized tub, shovel handle, and cotton clothesline. The washtub bass is quite simple, she said, and makes a great rhythm instrument. An accomplished singer, her voice has been compared to that of the late Patsy Cline. The former ranch girl owns a consignment clothing store in Cody. Born in Halliday, North Dakota, the youngest of 7 children, she attended college for 1 year and says, "I'm continuing my education on a daily basis in the good old school of life as we know it." When Leslie is not tending her store or traveling to perform cowboy poetry and music, she occasionally serves as a wilderness hunting camp cook. Her husband cowboyed until 5 years ago, and now builds log homes and serves as a farrier. The couple also helps neighbors when there's cattle work to be done. The mother of 2 daughters began writing and performing cowboy poetry in 1990, but she has always written poems. After attending the Cowboy Songs and Range Ballads performance in Cody, she went home thinking she could perform as well.